Okay, so here we are. We're in week of March 30th through April 3rd, and we're going over the solutions to the problems that were on the calendar last week. So hopefully you were able to get your work done, and now you'll be able to check your work with mine. So let's go. Let's see what we do. Here we go. Okay, so the first problem. The rectangular prism is made of unit cubes. And there we have a picture, a diagram, and then it says part A. Complete the sentence to describe the prism. There are blank layers of blank unit cubes in each layer. So let's look. I know this is a layer and this is a layer. So how many layers do I have? Right. We have 2 layers. Now it says, and unit cubes in each layer. So if I look at that top layer, I can look at the top of them and count. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So how many cubes? 10 unit cubes in each layer. So now the total volume of the prism in cubic units is, I have 2 layers of 10, so I can either say 10 plus 10 using repeated addition, or I can use multiplication equation. 2 layers of 10, 2 times 10 would give me, yep, you guessed it, 20. All right, so now remember, each slide helps you towards the next slide. So let's go to the next one. And now, remember, this one is a little bit bigger. Actually, it's a lot bigger than the one in the previous slide, but let's go. It says, which expression can be used to find the volume of the rectangular prism in cubic feet? We have our diagram, we have our picture, and it says choose all of the correct answers. So one of the things I need to make sure we do, make sure you read the question a couple of times. So it says choose all. And notice that is highlighted and it's underlined. So that's something we need to pay close attention to, because sometimes we don't look at that and we pick one answer when we should have picked more than one. So let's look at it. So just like the first slide, we're going to look at some layers. Let's see how many layers do we have so far. We have 1, let me get the highlighter here. We have 1 layer, 2 layers, 3 layers. Okay? Now one thing I want to say here is our layers equal our height. So our layers with our height, so lets me know my height equals 3. So now let's look at this top layer. Let's look at how many we have. So we already know that we have 3 layers, which is our height. So let's look at this length part right here. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now let me highlight that so you can see what I'm doing. So here we go. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that lets me know that my length is 7. So let's look at that. My length equals 7. So now let's look at our width. We're going to be looking at the numbers of cubes on this side. So we're looking at this side. So let's look. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So therefore, my width equals 5. So now, let's look at what we have below. It says choose all the answers that are correct. A, 35 times 3. Now one thing I remember is our formula for volume is length times width times height. And I always forget that. Look, there we go. So let's look at this layer. If we look at length times width, that should give us, what's 7 times 5? 7 times 5, wow, is 35. And what do we notice right here? Look at what we've got in our problem. Right here, we have 35. Now it says 35 times 3. So let's see. We already said we had 3 layers, right? So if there's 35, here we go, look at this, in this layer, and we have 3 of them. So could we say 35 times 3? Yes, we can. So the A is one of the answers. Very nice. So let's look at B. B says 7 plus 3 plus 5. So 7 plus 3 we know is 10 plus 5 equals 15. Now let's talk about reasonable. Would it be reasonable to say that the volume of this rectangular prism is 15, knowing that one layer is 35? No, it's not reasonable. So therefore, we're going to cross this one off. So I'm going to cross this one off. This is one we don't need. And make sure I'm going to cross it off in black. So that one does not work. Let's look at C. Wow. You know what I noticed? C is repeated addition. So I have 35. So let's look at this. I have 35 here, 35 here, 35 here. So can that work? Definitely. I have repeated addition, which is the same as 35 times 3. So yes, that works. Now, notice D and E, they work with our dimensions. We have length is 7, we have our width is 5, and we have our height, which is 3. So let's see. So we already know in parentheses, we always do parentheses first. 7 times 5 is 35. So far, that's that top layer, but it says plus 3. Does that make, is that reasonable to say plus 3? No, because that would give us 38. So we know that one we can also eliminate. Now let's look at the one in the bottom. Let's do the parentheses first. This one says 3 times 5. 3 times 5 is 15. Now, let's see. Is there another way that we can look at this so that we can see if we have 7 layers of 15? Let's look. So I'm looking at 3 times 5. So here's my 3, because that's my height, right? 1, 2, 3. Now 3 times 5, I know gives me 15. But I'm trying to figure out, do I have 7 layers of 15? According to my length, it says yes, but let's look at it to make sure. So here's a layer. This is my layer of 15 right here. Let's see if I have 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So guess what? This also works. So your answer should have been A, C, and E. All right. Now let's go to the next one. So again, remember, they all build to the next problem that's coming. So what we've done so far should help us solve this one. It says Mark stores his blocks in a bag. The bag is shown below. Now remember, we can't forget this. Our formula for volume equals length times width times height. Okay, so now let's go up here. It says complete the equation to find the volume of the bag. Write your answers in the blanks. So right now we know we're looking for volume, and so we know volume equals length times width times height. So let's look. What is our length? Our length is 10. Our width is 4. Our height is 8. So let's plug it in. Here we go. Our length is 10, 10, and you see me putting it together. Our width is 4, and I'm just plugging it in, and our height is 8. Wow. So now it says the volume of the bag is blank cubic inches. So let's multiply. We have 10 times 4 gives us 40 times 8. And already I know I can look at the 4. 4 times 8 equals 32. And because I'm multiplying by multiples of 10, I can take this 0 and annex a 0 right here. So my answer then is the volume of the bag is 320 cubic inches. Whew. There we go. That was a good one. Now, if you've had any problems with what we've done thus far, all you have to do is send me a message, and then I'll send you, or we'll get together where we can work out how to better help us understand our concept of volume. So here's our last volume problem. Now again, this one is going to another level. Let's look at it. Here we go. It says, a farmer builds a metal water holder to fit in a corner. A diagram of the trough is shown. What is the volume of the trough in cubic feet? Wow. See, automatically, this is what I saw. I'm like, this is huge. This, to help me understand this, I divided this one prism into two separate prisms. So now I have a side A and I have a side B. And this is just like the example that I gave you last week. I divided it to make two separate prisms, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the volume for prism A, find the volume for the prism B, and then I add them together, and it should give me the volume for the entire figure. Okay, so let's start. So now, one of the things I noticed, so again, let me write this down so I always have it somewhere where I can see it, is my formula for volume. I'm going to put it down here, length times width times height. All right, so here we go. So in A, I already see that my length, my length is 9. It's 9 feet, right? So here's my length. Now I see my width is right here. My width is 3 feet. But then I'm like, what about my height? I don't see anything over here. But guess what? It is in here. Because you see this right here? It's all the way up here. If this is the same size, the same height, this is 2 feet, this is 2 feet, this is 2 feet, this is 2 feet, and this is 2 feet. So therefore, the height of A is 2 feet. So I'm going to put my height equals 2. All right, so now let's see if I can find the volume for the first one. So when I look at it, length times width, 9 times 3 equals 27. And then I have to multiply that times 2, and I get 54. Now, again, bear with Miss Hamilton because I'm trying to do this and I seem to keep messing up. There we go. So that one is 54. So A is 54. So let's look at B. So for B, here's my length. My length is 2. My width, there we go, is 5. And again, my height doesn't change. It's 2 feet. So when I'm looking at this one, length times width, 2 times 5 equals 10. And I multiply times 2, and I get 20. So now I have the volume for A, and I have the volume for B. So I need to add them together. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to add them, and I have 54 cubic feet plus 20 cubic feet gives me 74 cubic feet. There we go. So we know our answer is 74 cubic feet. Now, I know it may have seemed like a lot, but if we just break this down into two separate prisms, it'll be a lot easier for us to find the volume of the whole solid figure. And again, this is similar to the example that I gave you last week prior to you doing the equations or the problems involving volume. And if you have any questions, feel free to email me and I will get back with you and we'll figure out how we can work on it together. So now let's look at our last problem. A grocery store has 184 shelves for bottled goods. Each shelf holds 27 bottles. How many bottles will the shelves hold in all? Let's show our work. Okay, so I know this problem is about me trying to fit bottles on shelves. So a grocery store has 184 shelves for bottled goods. Each shelf can hold 27 bottles. So I'm trying to figure out how many shelves, how many bottles in all will I be able to fit on 184 shelves? So now a grocery store has 184 shelves for bottled goods. Each shelf can hold 27 bottles. How many bottles will the shelves hold in all? So I know, looking at this, I need to know about my 184 shelves because I need that information, and I need to know that each shelf holds 27 bottles, each of them, and I'm trying to figure out how many bottles will the shelves hold. So I need to figure out, am I going to do addition, subtraction, or multiplication, or division? Well, I know I'm not getting smaller. My number's going to get bigger, so therefore I'm going to multiply. Now, there's a couple of strategies I could try. I could start with a list, and as you see down here at the bottom, I started a list. And I labeled my one column shelves, one column bottles. So if I have one shelf, I can put 27 bottles on it. If I have two shelves, I can put 54 bottles on it. If I have three shelves, 81, four shelves, 108. I can keep going, but I'd have to count to 184 shelves, and that would take a very long time. And since I'm not trying to take so much time, I'm trying to be purposeful with my work, I'm going to do something that I learned this year. I'm going to use a standard algorithm for multiplication. So let's look at it. And I'm going to start with the ones column and the 7. So when I go 7 times 4 is 28. So I leave my 8 down here and I carry the 2. But you know what? I'm going to try a different ink, try a different pen. Oh, there I go. I'm messing up again. I forgot to click. Here we go. So here's my ones. The 2 go in my 10s. So 7 times 8 gives me 56 plus 2 more gives me 58. So again, I carry my 5 because I'm in the hundreds place now. 7 times 1 is 7. When I add 5 more, I get 12. Now I'm finished with my ones column, so I put a 0 here. That's my place marker because now I'm going to be in the tens column. So let's go. 2 times 4 is 8. Again, I know Miss Hamilton's trying to get this, so just bear with me. 2 times 8 is 16. Here's my 6 and put a 1. 2 times 1 is 2, plus 1 more gives me 3. So let's see, let's add it up. So I have 8 here. 8 plus 8 is 16. I place my 6 here. I carry my 1. 1 plus 2 is 3, plus 6 is 9. 1 plus 3 is 4. Now, my answer is 4,968. So, how many bottles will the shelves hold in all? The shelves will hold 4,968 bottles. There you go. So, here's the answer. I'm trying to highlight it. That's what I'm doing. Okay. So now we have new problems on our calendar. And next week, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go over each problem. And again, if you have any questions, all you have to do is just send me an email, or you can comment directly on the page and I will get back to you. Okay? Thank you and have a good week.